coming off last night, a solid effort from the team. Where is the energy at? We were just talking to Quinn about it too. How are you feeling heading into the road trip?
I thought it was great energy. Like we worked on rush against. I think that's something that when you play teams like the Rangers, Jersey, like really talented rush teams, we got to make sure that we know what we're doing. I thought last game we were a little bit passive. We could have snuffed some plays out. I think if you snuff plays out, you're not going to spend time on our end. So, but for the most part, I thought, I thought some guys got some more ice time. We're looking at some of the young guys to step up some key moments. It's one of those games where it came down to one key play and they made it. We didn't. That's really what it comes down to.
Kirk, you got the young guys. 5 games in, where are you with Johnny? Just sort of his body of work from what you've seen, and without JT, who kind of was his safety security blanket there. Like I know last night you were trying to build top line. So where are you? Just what you see in 5 games from?
Yeah, I think we've thrown a lot at him. I think whether he stays up or not, we can't be afraid to make sure that we develop him properly. I think his play without puck's gotten better defensively. Now he's got to be more instinctual in the offensive end. I think he's a shooter, and sometimes shooters just want to shoot and they kind of stand around. I think he can be a little bit more involved in the offense of going to certain spots, maybe getting to the net, maybe being a bumper play, maybe going behind the net. Like he can do other things, and I think sometimes he just wants to be a shooter. And I think that's probably the next level for him, but he's obviously a talented kid.
How's this moment challenging your leadership group?
Yeah, it's coaches, leadership, organizational-wise. This is you got to hold the fort. Everybody's got to grab a pail, and and empty some water in the boat. That's really what it comes down to. And like I said, I love the fact that last night the Nashville game, and then we have a really good practice. I mean, that's the energy we're talking about. But let's face it, we need some guys. They do have to step it up, and they got to make sure that if you're not scoring, you got to make sure that you're not, you're not giving stuff. That was my big last year. It's okay not to score, but you can't give up moments for the other team. You can't lose your man. You can't just dive in when you're not scoring. So I think that's something that we talked about today.
You had 3 metaphors in that last answer.
What's that?
The boat, the pail,
the
fort. But anyway.
The fort, yeah.
As a coach, you're used to dealing in timelines with injured players. This has been something that I'm not sure the market has seen with Thatcher Demko's injury.
Yeah.
How challenging has it been to sort of continue on not knowing when he's going to be back?
Well, you know what? You look at him in practice, and he's putting really good days. He was great in net today. So, that's a positive. That's the way you got to look at it. Whether I don't know when he's going to play, the timeline. I mean, obviously, it's a lot closer than it was 2 months ago. Let's put it that way. But I just want the guys' confidence, the whole team's confidence, knowing that, if we make a couple mistakes that's in our net, we shouldn't change the way we play. And I thought sometimes last night we were just too passive. We weren't breaking plays up because we're not trusting each other. But last year I felt that we knew this guy was going to do this and this guy was going to do that. Right now we're a little bit off kilter. Is it because of the injuries? Maybe. Is it the new guys? I think you don't use that as an excuse so long. I think it's enough sample size where we got to start to make some headway in that. And I thought the last 2 games, 5-on-5, we made headway.
Are you hopeful that Thatcher, I know he's going on the trip, are you hopeful that he will play on this trip?
Well, I mean, I'm always hopeful. I mean, if he's putting these kind of practices together, you're really, you feel a lot more comfortable.
Any baby news? And
Gar's had a baby.
He did?
Yes. I don't know, named Quentin.
Wow.
But not after Quinn Hughes, but the guy in Jaws. What's his name? Yeah, he's a shark lover. What's the guy? You guys know Quint or Jesus, the captain. Yeah. So.
And what about Phil today?
Phil maintenance day. Phil's the maintenance day.
And what can you tell us about Brock? You said he skated yesterday.
Yeah.
How did that go? And is he going on this trip?
I think he's coming on the trip. I haven't talked to the medical staff yet because we have a meeting after this and we decide who's going. But whether he stays back to skate or not, we still have to talk about that. Because we have Kroger, our skills coach. So if he doesn't play on this trip, obviously he won't come. but we'll see. We'll see how it goes day to day.
You talked about the rush defense
Yeah.
earlier on. Rush off and score 2 more goals off transition last night.
Who did the Rangers?
No.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Sorry.
How are you feeling about that? I know that was a priority and a focus heading into this season. Do you feel like you're getting there?
I thought we spent a lot of time last 2 days on it, and I think it helped. Our middle drive was probably the best I've seen this year, and that's how we scored the goal. Middle drives. I think middle drive is something that we've lacked a bit this year, and I think we're getting better at. And when you have a middle drive, you're going to get the goals like Sherwood and Garland because we had a middle drive. So to answer your question, it's been helping.
One of the trends this season at 5-on-5 for your team is that the defensemen are getting a lot of shots blocked. So it's like I think you're around 40% of getting pucks on net. Is that just a byproduct of rushing or just trying to get pucks on net?
Well, it's like chess, right? You got to know what you're going to do two moves ahead. So when as you're getting the puck, you got to see what the coverage is. I think sometimes we catch it and we're staring down our option instead of moving your feet. You got to change the lane. That's the one, and that's one thing we got to get better defensively for our forwards going out to the defense. I think we got to block better shots, but it's all about moving your feet and changing angles.
Things have been tough for Susie and Myers.
Yeah.
What do they need to do to get back to where they need to be?
Well, I think Mizey's his game has come on the last couple of games. I think Susie got to get his confidence up. I think everything is magnified. Everything he does, it's in our net. And I talked to him today. He's close. I would like to see him, and I told him, is just get into people a little bit harder. That's when he's at his best. I could say that about every player, but I'm a big believer is you got to get people, you saw the Zibanejad's goal, I think it was Rats, you got to take a stick. You can't just be with a guy. I think that's one thing we got to get better at, whether it's Susie or Ratty or whoever, Petey. You got to get into people, and I think we haven't been as good as getting into people, but we're getting better, I guess.
I know it's easier to change your forward lines, but so far this year we've seen a lot of different combinations up front, but the defense pairs have stayed relatively the same. Have you considered breaking things up or changing things up?
Well, I think, we'll see, but we might have to go that route if it doesn't get better. And I'm not blaming anybody, but sometimes maybe a fresh guy or something might help. I think we're still in Myers and Susie were a really good pair for us in the playoffs, high pressure games. So obviously we got to get better, and we might have to switch it. But whether it's next game or not, I'm not sure.
Coming off of practice, just tell us how you're feeling, where you're at.
Yeah, it's obviously been a long road, so it's nice to be back with the guys a little bit, and definitely a little more energy, a little pep in my step coming back and being out with those guys. And it's still a lot of work to do, I think, but I feel really good. It's the best I've felt, obviously, in 7-8 months. So I finally have a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel for sure, and have a lot of direction in what we're trying to accomplish. And we've gotten some huge progress and big jumps the last probably 2, 3, 4 weeks, and so we're moving in the right direction for sure.
Are you letting yourself imagine that first start yet?
No, not yet. I'm a day-to-day guy. I think you have to be. Admittedly, through the process, I slipped into the future-seeking mindset, and it never really ended up too well for me. So just sticking with it day by day, and I definitely know that I'll be playing here. I can't give you a timeline yet, but I'll definitely be back, and just enjoying being where I'm at today, and keep making progress tomorrow.
And to get to this point, was it just you had to sort of learn to manage how it feels? Is it just?
No, we had to use different modalities to get the function up. It wasn't an adaptation of my style of play, and I knew it wouldn't be. Shortly after Penticton, we really nailed down what the issue was specifically, which was nice to finally kind of understand what was going on, and that gave us a clear picture of different options that we had moving forward. And it was kind of just trial and error at that point, and we ended up finding something that worked really well for me.
So much emotion involved in your profession, and yesterday was an emotional day for this organization. Has it been a challenge for you to separate sort of the practical side of what you need to do to get yourself ready versus what the team's needs might be and how badly they want you to be back?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you want to be out there for your teammates. I mean, I'm not really doing this for me. I think that's what the basis of playing sports is trying to be there for other people and help your team succeed and do whatever it takes to do that. So it's hard to compartmentalize that and stay focused on my task and not get too judgmental internally. And you try not to guilt yourself into tricking yourself that you're maybe farther along just so you can get back sooner, things like that. But my teammates have been great. The coaching staff's been great with just not really putting pressure on me. I think they know that I probably do that enough on my own. And so they've been all very supportive, and that's been huge through this process.
How much of our focus, and I think probably the general focus, is when is Thatcher coming back? Like what date, what game are you going to play? But your focus, I imagine, has to be not just when you're going to be back, but how are you going to be able to play when you get back, and how do you sustain it? How can you play the rest of the season? Is that clear?
Yeah, I think admittedly I feel great right now, and to your point, I can't feel good and go back into game action and then have a setback 2 weeks into playing, and I gotta put this thing through hell and know that I can kind of sustain that and withstand just the pressures of being in the NHL every day and playing games, waking up, practicing, traveling, doing all this stuff. I need to make sure that I'm ready for the long haul and do everything that I can to make sure that I am. So I think this last, like I said, I still have a little bit of work to do, but I think the last stretch of it is going to be just that capacity build and making sure that I can withhold the schedule of the NHL.
Is part of that too knowing what the injury, like understanding what that feeling is, as opposed to the unknown of what it might have been at the beginning where you're like, oh my God, I've torn my meniscus or something like that. Like you actually know what it is, you know what the feeling is. Was that part of the process?
No, I mean, I knew it wasn't a meniscus right away. Admittedly, I've, gotten pretty educated anatomically. I think it's important too, and obviously through this process, I've been forced to. So, I'm not going to get into the details of, the feelings of things or, different maintenance techniques or what have you mechanically that I can do. But just know that I know everything about the popliteus and all that stuff that goes into it at this point.
You've done this before where you've had to battle back from injuries and try and ramp things up. How different ultimately is going all out at practice and then playing games?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different beast. That's the stages of rehab. You kind of work your way back into some goalie skates, and I'm seeing pucks from the Twins, and Sergei was out there a little bit with me, and then I come out here and things are moving really quick compared to those guys. So it's another step up, and I have to get acclimated at this level, and then obviously the game is a different beast. So I know that it's not going to be perfect my first or second game back. I have to be able to manage my expectations in that regard, but just do everything you can to make sure that transition is smooth.
Thank you.